This is Andrew from Seemu Apps, and in this guide you're going to learn what is an app identifier, the difference between an implicit and wildcard app identifier, what type is better to use, and how to set up an app identifier in an XCode project. So the first order of business is what is an app identifier. It's also known as an app ID, and it's like a unique string kind of addressing that's used to identify one or more apps. It uniquely identifies your app within Apple services. This allows you to upload your app to Apple, update your app, and enable services such as in-app purchases, notifications, and Game Center. It's kind of like a web address. So say Google's got their own address, your app will have its own address, so to speak. So to set up an app identifier, you need to go to the Apple Member Center. I'll post a link on screen and below. So once you're over in here, you'll see these certificates, identifiers, and profiles. You need to just click on that. This will load up a new window, and under iOS app, you need to go to identifiers. And then you'll see a list of any existing app IDs you've set up here. If you haven't set up any, it will be blank. So it gives you like a name, like a description of your app that you set up, and a unique identifier. So to add one, just click on this plus button. This name is just like a description to reference your app ID. So we'll just say ours is the best iOS game ever. And next you'll see it's asking for an app ID suffix if it's explicit or a wildcard. Basically, the two differences are, as an explicit is that one explicit app ID can only be associated with one app, whereas one wildcard ID can be associated with many different apps. However, I highly recommend just to use explicit only. The reason is some services such as in-app purchases, Game Center, and push notifications require you to use an explicit app identifier. And it's also easy to keep a track of things, and if you do decide you do want to include these features later, it'll be a lot harder to go from a wildcard to change to an explicit app ID. You may as well get it right the first time. So for ours, we'll set up com.seemuapps.bestiosgame. That will be the unique identifier. So my website is www.seemuapps.com. So it's kind of like a reverse domain. So com.seemuapps.bestiosgame. If you don't have a website, you can just make up something to put in there. But if you do, I recommend just following this standard. So I'll copy that since we're going to use it later on, that bundle ID. And in here you can enable app services. So Game Center and in-app purchases will be enabled by default. However, if you do need to change something later on, it's easy to log back into here and just change it straight away. So don't worry if you're not sure what you want to include. It's quite easy to change. So once that's done, you just go continue. It will ask you to confirm more of the information for your app ID here. When you're happy with that, go submit. Registration is complete. You can go done. And now you've got your app ID set up here, and it will show you it in this list here. So we've got the best iOS game ever here for the description, which is the name, and the app identifier. So to begin using it in XCode, I'm just going to open up an existing project I've got here. I'm going to show you how to set it to be associated with that app ID. So up in the left here, select your project, and then you'll see this menu here. You need to select your project under targets, and then the info tab up the top. You'll see this bundle identifier. So this is where you need to put in the app identifier you made. So com.seemuapps.bestiosgame. And what this does, it enables auto services such as in-app purchases and Game Center we set up, and also lets you upload your app to iTunes Connect, where the Apple team can review your app and place it on the App Store. So basically it's like a unique identifier that associates your app. So if you have any questions, just comment below.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe and leave any feedback below. Also check out our website, Facebook and Twitter by clicking or tapping any of the buttons on screen.